week, a new Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order, was released to the public. It took me about a week, but I finally finished story mode, so let's talk about it. Jedi Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith and involves a survivor of Order 66 trying to keep the potential next generation of Jedi safe. Hi, my name is Sean, and normally I talk about movies way too much, but from time to time I like to change things up just a little bit and talk about some video games. So ever since this game dropped, Twitter has been going bananas, just raving about how awesome it is. To be honest, I'm not as crazy about the game as a bunch of other people out there in the world. I had fun with it, but I was also pretty frustrated. But before I elaborate on that, go ahead and tell me what you thought down below in the comment section. Are you one of those people who's going bananas for it? Or are you kind of like me, a little bit more frustrated with it? I would love to have a nice lively conversation about it. With that said, let's get started talking about the good. And the first thing that comes to mind is that it's just fun to explore the world of Star Wars as a Jedi. Right out of the gate, you've got a bunch of different force powers. You're in a world populated by stormtroopers and Wookiees, and you're going around to, 6 or 7 different planets. They all have different ecosystems and environments to them, and on each planet, there's all sorts of different environments there in and of itself. And so you're just going around and playing around in the world of Star Wars, having adventures, trying to find things, and getting in a whole bunch of fight with the Empire and with a bunch of weird creature things as well. Another thing that makes it fun is that it is set during the period of the Empire right after Revenge of the Sith, and so you are in this world that's populated by stormtroopers, inquisitors, all sorts of Imperial Star Destroyers, all kinds of fun stuff like that. And so for that reason, at times the game can almost feel like it's an adaptation of Star Wars Rebels. Now, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a good number of similarities in some of the story elements to it, the nature of flying around on this ship with this ragtag group of people, a kind of younger Jedi person in the mix with an older Jedi person in it. And because of that, it was kind of fun to have these battles with Inquisitors and things like that and learn about that time period from this perspective of the characters while going out there and having these adventures. Speaking of the worlds, these maps are just massive. I mean, it just takes forever just to go to all the different places because every time you turn a corner, there's 3 different options for a different door, another different crack, a wall to climb. So many different places to explore, look for things, discover different chests. And as you go throughout the game, you discover all these things so you can customize your look, your lightsaber, your ship, your droid, and like everything about your lightsaber is customizable, from what type of lightsaber it is to the color, the handle, all of that fun stuff. And you discover it by going out there, and that's what this game is like, just really deep, in-depth planets with so much stuff to look at, so many places to go to. And then the Jedi gameplay itself can be a lot of fun. You have Jedi powers right out of the gate, and then as you go through the game, you're able to kind of level up your skills and gain all this extra stuff, different types of lightsabers and different force powers to go along with your lightsabers, different fighting styles, all of that fun stuff. And then along those same lines, as you gain these new abilities, in each of these big, massive worlds, you gain new access to them, as well as things that you're able to do before that were really tricky become a lot easier the second time through when you gain certain things like force flip and the reverse slider thing, so you can go up zip lines. And it makes it so each of the worlds are interesting when you go back to them in a new way because you experience them so differently, and they have new challenges and things about them that are easier than they were before. But that also just makes the gameplay have a lot of ways that it changes and gives you new experiences as you go through it. And finally, the game does a really nice job of having some nice little cameos, Easter eggs, references to Order 66, letting us see some things without relying on the nostalgia, without needing to have someone that we know show up constantly. There's just a few little things here and there just sprinkled throughout to give it feel connected, feel a part of that bigger story, but not letting it dominate it. This is about these new characters and the adventure that they're on, and it's just fun to see how they interact with the stuff that we already know. From there, let's move on to the mixed aspects of the game. The big thing here is the story itself. The basic idea of this set of characters at this time period trying to do what they're trying to do, I think is pretty interesting, both on the hero side as well as the villain side, the way the pieces kind of fit together by the time you get to the end of it. I really dug it, and especially the final little act, it starts to bring everything together, tie things up really nicely, had some good momentum to it where I really cared about what I was actively doing in the moment. Problem is, for the vast majority of the game, I just thought I was kind of like meandering around the Star Wars universe exploring stuff. So having some fun adventures, doing some things, but it was just a whole lot of now go to this place and look for a thing. Now you found the thing, go to this planet and look for this thing. Now go to this planet and look for this thing. And there was no story momentum. I wasn't like invested in what was happening. It was just, I'm going from place to place to pick up these things, having fun on different planets. I didn't feel connected to the story at all, which was really frustrating for me because there's so many things about it that I enjoyed the story. And then at the same time, when I was on these planets, I just felt no momentum, no urgency, just exploring, no real story. And it's a story-based game, so that's kind of a pretty big problem, but it did end really nicely. From there, let's move on to the bad. And unfortunately, I've got several things to mention here. The first one is that the game is big in a weird and frustrating way. At least it was for me. There's a lot of exploring. That's really what this game is. It's an exploring game where you go to these planets and you're just trying to find stuff out there. So there's a bunch of puzzles. There's a whole bunch of like traversing and did you catch the right thing? Did you grab the rope? Did you swing and time it just right? And you're doing all this exploring, going out places, and because the maps are so big and it's puzzle based, you'll be wandering around trying to find the right place to click on the wall or the right item to put in the other place. And a lot of it can be like one-way streets that if you make the wrong turn, you slide down a hill, and to get back up to where you needed to be before, it takes you 15, 20 minutes. And that's where the combination of massive worlds with one-way streets and these kind of puzzles where you're looking for where to click can get really frustrating at times. There were rooms I'd get into and I thought I was supposed to do one thing and I didn't. You don't know if you're not able to do something or not, so you're just staring at it like am I jumping wrong? What's going on here? And then you find out, no, you're actually supposed to go over here, and you don't always know which things you're able to do, which things you're not able to do. And that leads to a lot of frustration for someone like me that I'm not a massive gamer. I'm just a person that wants to have fun playing a game, and I don't like to be confused for 30 minutes inside of a room. Along those same lines, there were times where on these planets, you'd go deep into these ruins looking for an artifact. You finally make it through all the puzzles, get the artifact, and you're like, all right, now I just need to get back to my ship. And it takes you an hour to get back to your ship. Like you just made your way through all this stuff, but because it's one-way streets, you have to find a whole other path back to your ship. And you just, once you have the item, you feel like, all right, I'm ready to move forward. Let's see what's gonna happen in the story. And then it takes an hour to get back to your ship. And that's where, to me, it felt like there wasn't that story momentum because I'd get so bogged down in these puzzles and in these caverns, find the thing, and then by the time I get back to the ship, I don't even remember what I just got because it took me so long to get back. There aren't like quick jumps. There's nothing like that that just makes it nice and easy to kind of move on to the next level or explore a little bit and then get back to your ship. It's all a big investment into every planet you go to. Another thing is, for being very much a Star Wars game, there's a whole lot of very non-Star Wars gameplay, creatures you interact with, and places that you go to. So what I mean by that is, as I mentioned before, the big part of this gameplay is like climbing mountains, swinging from ropes, traversing big places, and none of that's really Star Wars-y stuff. Like you saw Luke do a little bit of training on Dagobah, doing things like that, but you're doing all this other stuff. I mean, you do a lot of like snowboarding down snow and dirt and rocks. That's this major aspect of the gameplay, and it's just not a very Star Wars-y type thing to do. And then you're on these planets and you're battling a lot of like big slugs, and there's Venus flytraps trying to eat you, and dragons show up from time to time. And then the planets you go to, they are Star Wars planets, some of them ones that have been prominent in various things from here and there, like on the Clone Wars. But it's not like you're exploring Coruscant or Naboo or Tatooine. You're on a swamp on Kashyyyk. You're wandering around on these mountains, and it just kind of feels like generic types of environment. Snow mountains, volcanic planet, And so while it is Star Warsy in the one sense, in another sense, it just feels like you're wandering around in kind of any sort of environment. At times, I honestly felt like I was playing a game that was designed to be just a big fantasy game, and then they reskinned it with Star Wars. Like there's even a section that has zombies inside of it. That just doesn't feel very Star Warsy to me. So if you remove the lightsabers and put a different skin on the Stormtrooper characters, there's huge stretches of this game that just do not feel like Star Wars at all, from the gameplay to the creatures you're interacting with. The final stretch, the last third of it, very Star Warsy, very much a little bit more what I was expecting the game to be. It ended on a high note. I felt like I was in Star Wars type places doing Star Wars type things, but so much of the middle of it did not feel like Star Wars to me. And finally, some of the graphics I thought looked actually pretty bad. The Wookiees in particular just looked like dirty mops standing upright. It was bad. And for me, the game was very glitchy. There's both a lot of graphical glitches where I was moving through rocks, my lightsaber was kind of clipping off on my outfit. There were certain points in times where, like, I was doing one of these rock slide things, and you have to jump at the end of it to try and get to the next platform, and I missed it, and so then it refreshed, and it refreshed with the camera angle totally off, and it made it almost impossible to do the jump because I just couldn't reset to even know the timing. And then there was a graphical glitch on this rock, and so I'm sliding down the hill, and my feet drop through the rock, and I can't even see where the edge is because there's such an important graphical glitch right there. At different times, there's also load time issues, a lot of glitchy stuff for me with the game, unfortunately. Remember to tell me what you thought down below in the comment section. I know a lot of you had a better experience than me. I wish that I did. I'm not trying to dog on the game. I wanted to love it as much as anybody. I just had a lot of frustrations with it. So try and win me over down below in the comment section. Also, if you want more video game reviews from me, check out this playlist up there. I did Spider-Man, PlayStation 4, and then Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 earlier this year. So haven't done a ton of video game reviews. Plan on making them a little bit more of a regular thing on my channel. I do have a couple more right up there in that playlist. Overall, this game was a total mixed bag for me. Almost everything about it had something that I really liked and something that really frustrated me. For me, I'd say this is one you just need to rent it and see if you like it or not. A lot of people are loving this game. I'm just not one of those people. I've talked to a couple other people that seem to have the same experience as me. So rent it, see if it's for you. Hopefully you like it more than do. I hope you do, but I was frustrated. If you want more video game reviews, check out that playlist right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV and video games too much.